Hello and welcome to The Studio Demands It, an exercise in creative thinking where we will conceptualize, pitch, and craft a film or series based on the demands or stipulations from one of you listeners acting as a hypothetical Hollywood overlord. I feel like I had more energy than I would normally have, and you had less energy.
I was trying to do like a deeper thing, and it didn't work. It just kind of fell in the back of my throat. So then it was, sorry, Overlord. Yeah, I was also trying to try to do it a little quieter, so that so it sounded like a background echo that you could just kind of continue as it rumbled in the background, but it didn't. It didn't really work.
You're gonna have to supply your own echo because I'm
not an actual echo, but just sort of like I was just gonna rumble in the background with Overlord while you continued, but that clearly didn't.
Oh, it was an echo to me as opposed to an interjection.
It was a little both.
Okay. Oh, well, anyway, this is a screenwriting podcast, and as professional screenwriters ourselves and massive cinephiles, we talk movies all the time.
All the time.
We'd like to believe, by season 6 or 7, you're just going to repeat literally everything I say.
Everything I say!
We'll be your screenwriters for this episode. I'm TC DeWitt, and joining me, as always, is Jim, the Echo in the Shadows, Berzelic.
Echo in the Shadows. Okay, I'll take it.
In the shadows, who knows what secrets lie in the hearts of man? Who knows?
Man, who knows?
Jim Berzelic knows. When you were little, were you afraid of the dark?
Yes.
Did you have something you thought was in the dark, or was it sort of like an unknown monster?
An unknown monster. Everything was in the dark.
Did you ever do that thing where you had to we had a finished basement, so basically the second level of the house was downstairs. And when we had to leave a room, you had to shut the lights off. And I would shut the lights off and run to the landing where the light was still on because the shadow monsters couldn't get into the light. Did you ever have something like that?
My bedroom was in the furnished basement.
Okay.
So yes.
So yeah, you
all the time. What it was is I didn't. I actually had a few different lights. Oh God, admitting this in public, there were 3 different lights. My bedroom light, a hall light. It wasn't really a hall light. There was a light sort of in a side room, which was my dad's work room.
So yeah, okay.
Where kept all the tools and the spare things that were needed for repairing the house and stuff. That was the second light, and I'd hurry out of that hallway. Didn't really have to run because it was only a couple steps. But then there was a switch and a light at the bottom of the stairs, and I'd have to hit that light and go upstairs. So I'd hit that light and run up the stairs.
Right, so the shadow monsters could get you.
Yeah.
That's not no shame in admitting that.
It's super shameful.
Because I had literally the same thing. I had to go from laundry room to the TV room to the bottom of the stairs so the shadow monster couldn't get me. But there was one specific monster that I was afraid of so the shadow monsters existed in the dark.
Sure.
But there was one that I thought would look out inside the house, outside the window, and it was Sasquatch. I remember I was very little, and I saw a National Enquirer or a Weekly World News that had an image of Bigfoot on it. Well, we were leaving Pick and Save, and I was like, "Oh God, they found him! he's near!" And I can remember sleeping with my door open and sleeping on the threshold of my door, so my legs were sticking in the hallway, or my legs were in the room, but my body was in the hallway. I brought all my blankets and pillows on the ground, sleeping in the door frame protected me, but I could see him in the window. Bigfoot was good.
Oh, that was just trying to be as far from the window as possible?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I had... I never had anything... I never had monsters looking in the windows, because they were basement windows, right? So they were the much smaller windows.
Yeah. Although that would be horrifying.
For me, at different ages, I had... the under the bed monster, a closet monster, a hallway monster, an under the stairs monster. Yeah.
I don't think I ever had I think it was just the shadow monsters, and Bigfoot. I wasn't afraid of no closet. I ain't afraid of no closet monster.
All right. Well, good for you.
Yeah. But imagine, if you will, all those monsters were real.
Oh no.
And they.
I mean, what's funny is there have been several movies about that, and every single one has been a kids movie,
Monsters Inc.
which I guess makes sense. Those are the humans that are generally afraid of closet monsters.
Right, not adults.
Yeah.
Adults have more terrifying things to be afraid of, like midnight meat train murderers.
Rent is due.
Ooh, phone bill. Do your taxes. Ooh,
Actually,
the IRS.
I do still have irrational fears of the dark.
Well, you is it you can't have if like a shape in the corner in your room if you wake up in the middle of the night you think someone's standing there?
Yeah, I get those.
Sometimes it's me.
But that would actually be reassuring. TC? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay. But while you're messaging me on
and if I said TC and you were in the corner and you didn't say anything, that would be very upsetting.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
No, like weirdly, most recently. So it's murderers just in general, right? My imagination runs away, monsters of this or that, and then I'm like, there's no
monsters, Jim.
But there might just be a dude with a knife.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying to me. But my imagination still does make monsters, and more often than anything nowadays, they look like the monster from the end of Smile.
Ah.
They're abnormally large. So like
I'm smiling.
My brain creates this weird scenario where this giant ducks out of my closet to stalk across my room at me. And,
oh my god!
And I know it doesn't happen, and I tell myself it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I just roll over and close my eyes like a rational adult. And I silence that terrified child inside of my head.
Well, once you're under the blankets, you're protected.
Pretty much. Well, what gets me to roll over and be just fine with it is, if this is how I go, that's fine. It's fine.
Hey, what happened to Jim?
Oh, the Smile Monster
got him out of his bed. Oh, wow. Creepy.
Yeah.
Well, I hope for those of you listening at home are listening to this in the dark of your room, and the shadow monster is watching you from the corner. Ooh, it's me. It's just me.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's not that the movie Smile terrified me that much.
Yeah.
That's the closest I can, the closest approximation to what my mind builds.
Yeah, a Slender Man.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it's kind of that. Except it has a face.
Oh, okay.
It's a big, terrifying face.
Is Slender Man the newest, like, urban myth monster? Like vampires, werewolves, like...
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it. I don't know if there's been a new addition to the pantheon of creepy crawlies that exist in real life, other than Slender Man.
I think Slender Man is the newest. There's a few others out there. They haven't necessarily gotten the same notoriety, but like black-eyed kids, kids with jet black eyes, like knock on your door and ask to be let in. Ooh. And often they have weird asks.
Please let me in for some pudding.
Yeah. They'll ask if they can make a call, like a phone call. And in the modern day, that's weird because how do you not have a cell phone?
Yeah, every child has a cell phone. If you were an adult, I'd believe it.
And there's different stories that have been built around them. Like they will cause accidents if you let them in. Terrible things happen. Like there has never been a story from someone who has let them in
because they die.
Yeah.
Or the Sinister kids from the movie Sinister kind of had like the black, like crossed out eyes, but that's not the same thing.
Crossed out eye. Yeah, no, that's different.
Okay.
Although no, that's different. The idea is these kids are. Something about them is they're not children, right? Whereas in Sinister, they were possessed children. They were children that became acolytes of the movie demon.
Got it. Huh. Well, of the urban myths, maybe after the episode we could discuss our Wisconsin urban myth movie.
Sure.
A tease for the. You know,
I'm not remembering which one.
I'll say the title.
Oh no, yeah, that one. Okay,
I'll say the title and entice people. If you want to hear us talk about our movie Jaws, but it's the Hodag, stick around after the episode. Go into Patreon territory, and you can hear us talk about Jaws, but it's the
it's a
hodag. But that's for later.
Yeah.
Let's get to the episode proper
Okay.
here now. So, our listeners, Jim, have given us demands from studios literally all over the world. And you, listening right now, how did you find us? Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Are you new here?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell
It's
us
good
if you're new here
yeah.
and how you got here.
And
And,
thank you for joining us, because I'll tell you what, you can send us in a demand, any demand you like, and we will have to meet it right here on the spot. And when we reach the end of the episode, if we've done our jobs, we will have pitched a full script and story meeting or even exceeding those demands. And when the end of the season comes, your demand could have helped us craft the script that will be greenlit by the listeners for full table read production. Thank you to everyone who keeps submitting. Keep coming. We love it. And for those new listeners who have been sending in demands recently, we see you. We hear you. You will hear us. But yeah, keep it going. But today's demand comes. Oh my God!
Wait.
Yeah.
Before
Oh,
today's
wait.
demand, I have an addendum.
Yes. Go
So
ahead.
it's not a correct. It's sort of a correction. It's not really a correction or errata. It's an addendum to last week's, the last episode, the escape from episode.
Okay.
Escape
the
from
Snake
Lone
Plissken,
Star.
Yeah.
I made a big error because I was thinking too much about what we were crafting in the episode. That the challenge that Snake was going to have to overcome, I had suggested eating. That's not what it would be. In Texas, the sport that he has to get through would be football.
It would be football.
It would be football.
Okay.
So that's the addendum for this, is that in Escape from Lone Star, the challenges that he's going through, he then has to escape deadly football.
Is he like? Are they throwing like football-sized sticks of dynamite or grenades at him?
No, my thought is at one point he gets captured and he's brought to an arena, like he's put in with a whole bunch of other people who are going to be executed.
Yeah.
And what the basically church state of Lone Star has said is, but we believe in a fair chance, and we're going to give these deplorable people the opportunity to win their freedom. All they have to do is march 100 yards across this field in a fair game of pigskin.
Do it.
And so they would be on the offensive, and the defense is Lone Star's like deadliest defense
Marshals
team.
or something.
and they cheat and murder the offensive line as they're going.
Like you do.
And we would see one or two quarterbacks before Pliskin gets called in, but then Pliskin gets called in. So because we get to basically see at least one quarterback just get literally murdered. And then he's brought in and he has to deal with this, and they would go one or two plays and they'd make very little, and then they'd do a huddle and he would have a plan where like basically they need to all move together. That's my thought, is basically it would be something dumb like he passes to himself, or
just takes a guy's head off and it bounces back to him.
Decides to do a quarterback sneak and makes a run for it. And the other and his defenders have to try to keep
it over
monsters off of him. And he makes it to the end zone.
It's a quarterback
impossibly.
sneak. He's running for the end zone.
It would be something like that, and it would be a bit more. It would be less like L.A. and a little more like New York, where he might win. Like in L.A., he very very clearly actually accomplished the goal, and then he was going to get killed anyway. In New York, he was on the ropes. He was about to get killed, and that's when the resistance, or that's when
interrupted.
Yeah, and I think that's what would happen here, is there would be an interruption. And so that's what would keep Pliskin from getting killed in the. He would get the points, like he would make that touchdown, but they would say like they'd go in for the tackle, the murder tackle anyway.
Yeah.
But are interrupted by some rescue crew or something, or resistance would be would interrupt the execution.
All right. There you go. Murder
That's,
football.
now I don't know what the sport escape from the fourth one.
Well, don't worry about
be.
that. Well, you can.
But I just it was important to correct when talking about Texas. It would be football.
It would be football. Well, thank you
So.
for initiating that. Typically, we don't do.
No, we don't. But
like this.
Like it occurred to me within a half hour after we finished
You're like,
that last episode, and be like, I feel so terrible. I'm letting everyone who has any investment in Texas down.
Yeah, well, you got this out before the comments came rolling in, so hopefully
Good.
this happened. People
Well,
hear your addendum. So when the comments do come in, I can
Yeah.
tell people who listen to that next episode. Jim falls on his Texas sword.
Yeah,
All right, but today's episode
is not that.
is not that.
Yeah.
No, this comes from Lolo from Olo Studios. Lolo from LOL Studios. I think it's supposed to be Lolo.
It's Lolo
from
backwards.
Yeah.
Lolo from Olo.
Lolo from Olo Studios. Gentlemen, there are so many reboots and re-entries into franchises, and there's one on the way with the newest Ghostbusters. I just want to add a little note in myself here. This demand came in before Ghostbusters Afterlife. Like, we've had this demand sitting on the table for a little while, based on looking at the entry date. So I hope you're still listening, Lolo. We got to your demand. Living a dream. Your demands can still be met. Anyway, there's one with the newest Ghostbusters, and they've obviously missed the chance to do the sequel we deserve. The studio demands a re-entry into the original Ghostbusters from 1975 and the sequel cartoon from 1986. The studio demands you return to this franchise and bring this series to the new generation so they appreciate where ghostbusting truly began. You must, if you must reboot the franchise, go ahead. Who's gonna know anyway? But if you decide, to go forth, you must have direct connections to Spencer, Tracy, Kong, Jessica, and of course Primeval. God help you, that's the demand. Thank you, Lolo. So you kind of gave us any access point we want here. We can either make this a sequel to the sequel, or we can just reboot it and go any direction we want. Mm-hmm. For those who may not know, and if this title for this episode tricked you, we're a couple weeks shy of April 1st. But the Ghostbusters movie with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson, there was a Ghostbusters before that by Filmation, a live-action kids show from 1975. And then with the success of the Ghostbusters movie that we all know and love, Filmation did a cartoon sequel series to their original Ghostbusters to compete with the cartoon series that came out of the Ghostbusters that we know and love, and called that one Ghostbusters, which is why the cartoon that we know is the real Ghostbusters. Did I cover all that?
Yes.
Jim, you've done some research knowing this was coming.
Yeah.
Why are you shaking your head?
It hurt.
Did the demand hurt?
No, the research.
Well, I joined you in this. So we
yes,
Yep.
we started. We watched the first and last episode of the 1975 live action children's show
Ghostbusters.
I'm Spencer. He's Tracy. I'm Kong.
Weirdly, oh yeah, sorry. We'll get to this detail in a moment. Go ahead.
Ghostbusters.
no, don't keep singing the song.
That's why I sang it. And That was the song.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Spencer. He's Tracy.
Well,
I'm Kong.
Then I will mention for those who also might not know this, the premise of this is it is two guys who take on busting ghost criminals.
That's the only thing. Like the idea is Ghostbusters was a play on the term crime busters.
Yeah.
But they replaced crime with ghosts.
Ghosts, and so it's
because they don't do like any special techniques. I mean, they don't take them to jail. Actually, I guess they
get
do.
their Ghostbuster
Yeah,
device.
they have. That's the only technique they have is their Deus Ex Machina.
Their little machine.
Their ghost laser.
The ghost laser. Yeah.
Yeah. That zaps them away.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's no.
Well, there's a key detail.
No explanation about any of the ghost stuff.
There's a key detail missing, and it's two guys, Spencer and, hold on a minute, Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy is their gorilla.
A Kong is normally the name of a gorilla, TC.
I know, it's you thought that the gorilla's name was going to be Kong.
I did.
But no, that's Tracy.
It's a person?
It is. No, it's a gorilla. Kong is a person.
Kong is a person.
Oh man, and then
Tracy's a gorilla.
Yeah, and then Spencer and the gorilla Tracy are usually the two that do sort of the legwork, and then Kong comes in once they know where to go for their mission. It's so dumb, guys.
Well, also because they're sent to get the job, to get the mission. They don't call it a mission. They call it assignment.
Yeah.
Assignment.
Yeah. Case.
From a recording in which the person on the recording is identified as Zero.
Yeah. And
so their boss is named Zero.
They drive their car.
Never explained who Zero is.
Kong drives Spencer to the location, but then Kong gets out and goes inside.
Tracy drives Spencer.
Oh, sorry. The gorilla. Tracy drives him and Spencer to the spot.
Yeah.
And then Tracy goes inside to get the message.
And it's always on some random object
like a
that
fish.
is not anything that should be able to record a thing.
A little music box. While Spencer brings the car around.
Yeah.
And in the time he brings the car around, the device gives him the message of what their case is, and then self-destructs in 5 seconds. And then Spencer rolls up and is like, "Aw, guess you had to eat the banana," or like, "Oh, what'd you do with that music box? Burp-a-derf." And then they have their case, and it's a Dr. Celsius or a vampire
Centigrade.
man.
Dr. Centigrade.
I'm sorry.
That was the final episode of Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. So that was the original series, and it's only like 15 episodes.
Yeah.
I think 15 episodes.
Yep.
And then, the success of the movie, we all know, led to Filmation making a cartoon sequel series.
Yep.
And
it is literally a sequel because those characters appear in the pilot
Tracy and Kong
of the cartoon, and they are passing on their agency or whatever it is to their sons, who are juniors.
Yeah, so
they are also Spencer and Kong.
Spencer Jr. and Kong Jr.
Yeah,
Jake, right? Jake Kong.
Eddie Spencer and Jake Kong. Yes.
Yeah. And then the gorilla.
And then Tracy is also there.
But now, newsflash, all these years later, Tracy, the gorilla, is responsible for all their tech.
Yeah.
The cartoon is much more ambitious than the dumb show, live action show, because the live action show it's nigh unwatchable. Although, Jim, you watched several episodes.
I did. I tried watching all of it. I fell asleep for like 4 or 5 episodes.
And you woke back up to it.
I watched a bunch of it.
And now there's a man standing in your corner with a fedora.
Yeah. And I keep saying TC, and he just goes,
I'm Spencer.
Ghostbusters.
But the cartoon, you watched more than that than you should have as well.
Yes, I did. There are 65 episodes of the cartoon. We watched 3 episodes of that.
Interestingly, what we found out about this cartoon is 65 episodes aired 65 days straight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. Because it was made
for syndication.
It was made for syndication. And 65 episodes, basically they made 3 seasons worth of this show.
And then just ran it on a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, they ran it for 65 days straight, at least for that first run.
And then just circle back and start over again. The cartoon's a little interesting because there's time travel involved. There's Primeval is this sort of Skeletor dude who wants to take over the world.
Mm-hmm.
He takes over the future and then wants to work backwards.
Kind of.
And well, you watched more of it than I did.
I didn't get through all of it. I got through about 20 episodes of it.
Good job. That's whoa.
Because we watched 3 episodes of it. The first one, and then it turned out the first one was a cliffhanger into the second one, and the second one was a cliffhanger as well. It's 5 total episodes that are all a single story of rescuing their dads. But after that one, we were like, no, and then we watched the last episode. And much like the original series, the last episode, it doesn't the story is in no way a finale to anything. It's just...
They did catch Primeval, though. For now.
They catch him in like every episode.
Oh,
at the end of the 5 episode intro,
Yeah.
they lock him away in the same safe they trapped him in the first time that he then would be trapped in for 100 years.
Yeah.
They trap him in there again
With Batty or
Batarat,
Batarat.
voiced by Peter Cullen.
Oh my God! Who also voices
the voice
Eddie,
of
right?
Optimus Prime? Yes, he also voices Eddie in the show.
See, now the cartoon added some things. They have more tech. They have a possessed car. They have a
So the car is very clearly a callback to the car from the live action show.
yeah
But yeah, it is possessed.
ghost buggy.
Yep. They call him GB.
GB. Yeah. They have a news reporter, Jessica Ray, who doesn't believe in ghosts.
Well, she does after basically because at the end of that 5th episode they get home. They're in the future, and he goes, "We only have 10 minutes." They go back in time, and they give the interview, and they had captured a ghost. They captured the skeleton guy, and they reveal him on live TV. So now everyone knows there's ghosts.
Ghost.
But the interesting thing is, all of Primeval's dudes all
Scared
have
Stiff would be the robotic, skeleton.
Yeah, they show Jessica scared stiff.
But anyway, you said that every episode, all the episodes.
All of Primeval's dudes have like this weird techno element to them. So like Scared Stiff isn't just a skeleton ghost; he's a robot skeleton ghost.
He looks like C-3PO in Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
like doesn't have his gold skin all over him.
Yeah,
skin.
Skin. And there's a pirate guy whose peg leg is like a bionic, and he has this weird helmet and like a cyber eye.
Captain Long John Scarecrow.
Yeah, yeah, and all the names are like puns like that. The werewolf guy is wearing like a Jetsons outfit. There's a few others. Some of the characters don't have any tech stuff to them, but like even Primeval himself has like a weird tech face on his skull, and his mouth is like a wave file.
Like a wave file. Yeah. What a incredibly odd show.
I think that decision came from because they planned to merchandise it, and they did. There was a toy line made from it, and looking at their other properties, they made He-Man, which had a huge toy line.
Filmation made Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which has a very techno fantasy feel to it, right? Like there's laser guns and swords. And I think they kind of did the same thing with Ghostbusters here. And they don't spend much time dwelling on how and why
it just is.
They can go forward and backward in time, and why the beings appear the way they do. But what was weird after watching 20 episodes is there seems to be an unsaid logic, because all of Primeval's dudes have that. Oh, not all of them. Like
a good
Apparitia and the other woman. Ghost character, she's a vampiress kind of character. They don't have any techno
Mysteria
elements. Yeah, they don't have any techno elements to them.
They're all just ghostly.
Yeah, but
sorcery.
But like everything revolves. It's so weird. Eventually, though, another character is introduced. Primeval has a rival named Big Evil.
Oh my God! Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And he's just like a big fat guy. Ghost, who has red flamey looking robes just like Primeval, but he doesn't have any techno elements to him. And what I noticed is all of the ghosts he summons and controls have no robotic elements to them.
It's just pure ghosts.
Yeah, and they're monster. They're usually monsters, right? Like he has ghost monsters and a lot of octopus monsters and dragons. Summons a bunch of dragons. There's like 3 episodes in 4, like almost there's one interrupting, where they had to deal with a dragon. They had to contend with a dragon.
Just one dragon after another.
And 2 of them they take out with a fire hose. One they connect to Ghost Buggy's radiator to blast water at it to knock out its fire. Another time they bring a tank of water to knock out the fire. And the third time the water doesn't work because early in the episode we learn a lesson. Eddie is grilling up a hamburger, and it's real greasy, and he accidentally starts a grease fire that they have to put out with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
And so when they fight the dragon, they try spraying his fire out, and they find out,
it's like a grease fire.
The fire is fueled by oil because the dragon has to refuel.
Yeah.
And so it goes to an oil derrick and drinks the oil. So they have to go to the fire extinguisher factory and get the largest fire extinguisher they have.
I'm rubbing my forehead right now. Like, you know that
and the lesson of the episode, because every episode ends with a lesson. This is the one thing I think is really good about the show, is that they are trying to teach kids lessons.
Yeah.
Is they talk about how fire's bad and different fires. You can't just put it all out with water, and don't play with fire, kids.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Otherwise, it feels like it's just draining my energy.
You know the scene in Billy Madison when he says that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. We're all dumber having heard you. I feel bad that you watched. It feels like it actively numbed your, like, smoothed your brain by watching this 20 episodes of the show.
It feels like it did.
Well, it's funny. I have the Wikipedia up here.
And I exposed myself to this when I was like 7.
I have the list of villains up here, and yeah, Big Evil is described as Primeval's overweight rival. Yep. He's so powerful that Primeval had to team up with the Ghostbusters to defeat him. Also voiced by Peter Cullen.
Yep.
Peter Cullen voiced a ton of characters on here.
He did.
Also, this dude Alan Oppenheimer voiced a lot of characters. That's neither here nor there.
I believe Jay Fraley, the voice of Jake Kong, also voiced a lot of the 6 people that worked on the show voiced everyone. What's her name? Susan Blue. She's a very famous voice actress. Also did
Susan Blue. Yeah, she did
a ton of characters.
Futura and Jessica.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. You guys just got
and Belfry.
Oh, and Belfry,
the little pink bat.
Oh yeah, forgot about him.
Looks like Piglet.
He looks exactly like Piglet. He looks like the dollar store version of a Piglet toy.
Yes.
Anyway, so there's a history lesson on Ghostbusters. I hope you enjoyed 20 minutes of that.
That was 20 minutes?
That was 20 minutes.
Oh, God.
So, okay.
That's what you're trying to interrupt.
We basically have carte blanche here.
Yeah.
The idea is to take... We didn't even discuss the talking... Or no, he doesn't talk. He sort of grunt talks,
so,
Tracy.
As the cartoon goes on, like, he sticks with the grunting, but he says more and more. You could assemble a full vocabulary. That gorilla can talk.
Okay.
He just chooses not to.
What a jerk. So, the question is... What do we do with this? I assumed, seeing that this was Ghostbusters related, initially I assumed it was going to be obviously the Ghostbusters, the one we're familiar with. But just doing the quick skim when I picked it as our demand, I was like, oh God, this is for this. Now that I've read it and I see that we have carte blanche to do anything, my gears are already turning. What do we do with this? Do we go? Do you want? I'm wondering where your heart is at this, because because we can do anything. I'm wondering, do we go grim? Like, do we get bloody? Do we make a rated R version of this? Do we have some family fun like the existing Ghostbusters? You're shaking your head no at that grimdark, but
so I think going that route, right? Like if you were to make like a Pirates of Darkwater movie, you could, or even He-Man. I know the He-Man movie exists, but you could do something that's a little more fun for adults.
Right.
With Ghostbusters, transforming it into something, we can kind of get there, but I think at the end of the day, it's still going to be, like at most, it's going to be a family movie.
Like how scary do you imagine this going? I suppose that's where...
I think if you make it too truly scary, like it's not. I think if you get to PG-13, you've probably gone too far.
Okay. I think that like the instinct in something like this to sort of like laugh at it would go to like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, like that sort of, and I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I don't want to suggest. And
when you said grimdark, that's what I was thinking.
No.
I don't think that's the right way to go.
I don't think I would be tempted to go as far as Pirates of the Caribbean level of scary.
Which I guess is PG-13.
Yeah. Where it is like a little frightening but still safe. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean has got skeletons and monsters, but it's still like fun family scary.
Sure.
Right. And I'm not suggesting this needs to be The Ring or a Conjuring movie. I don't think it should go there.
No.
It should be I think there's some fun to be had here because it's so dumb.
Yeah.
But we're having more information to work off of, having experienced more of the show. What would you do? What would you do with this?
So the first place I was going, because this I had to start making sense of what was there, because I when given a thing like this, yes, there's carte blanche. You could just kind of do whatever because it's sort of already all over the map.
Yeah.
But the whole point to a license to me is to utilize and evoke the original thing in some way.
Now, you might be about to get here. Are you going to go off of the beginning of the pitch, which is this is the third entry into this story, or are you thinking a full start from page one?
Because the cartoon was an acknowledging sequel to the original, I think there would be some fun in making this an acknowledging sequel to the cartoon.
I agree. I think that's more fun.
And sticking with certain corny things like it's Eddie Spencer and Jake Kong, this time the third.
Okay,
right?
Wow, really sticking to it.
So,
okay.
Yeah, not just taking the cartoon and making it live action. It's sticking to that notion of so now we can have a live action version of Eddie and Jake Jr., but they're the dads now and they're passing
on the torch.
To their kids.
Okay.
And so right, because it was like a 10-year difference between that show and the cartoon show.
Weirdly, it feels like it feels ancient in comparison, but you're right, it's only about 10.
And then so we're now coming 40 years later. So in this, so the show, Jake and Eddie were meant to be younger to appeal to a child audience. And to sort of be like, oh, these are the eyes into this new world. To jump these years, that means that Eddie and Jake are in their 60s or 70s, and their kids are going to be like 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
So it's going to feel a lot more like Afterlife.
Ghostbusters Afterlife. Yeah.
Which I think is okay.
Because they could also have children in this if you wanted to.
Sure.
If I don't want to, I think it'd be smart for us to avoid just doing what Afterlife did and being like adults and their kids. But
But maybe that's the way to go.
There is room here to say it's Jake and Eddie the third with their kids involved in this.
Jake and Eddie the fourth.
Oh God!
No, we don't have
Dad.
To
I don't want your life.
So the weird stickler points that I'm on is I'm trying to create the background reason and sense between why all of this is happening and why it's there and possible.
Okay.
And the things I've come up with, it's not much, but there was an episode where they had to deal with the great gorilla ghost.
Okay.
Who had been banished from Earth a long time ago. Banished from Earth. He's on another planet. He makes robot gorillas, sends them to Earth to kidnap Tracy, which it wants to use as the archetype to make gorilla ghosts to be his army to come back and take over the Earth. Jesus.
So we have our premise for the movie.
Basically, but the thing is, Tracy is sort of this constant, and Tracy is also this techno genius. He makes things that makes technology. He's responsible for all the weird bone tech that's in their
their base. They have
base.
The Skelevision, which allows them to sort of see through time and space,
and tells the kids the lessons at the end of the episodes.
And then the Skelephone.
There's other things. There's a cuckoo clock, which is just scary for some reason. There's the Skelevator, which is the elevator they use to go through the building. Which I know I told you all of that stuff was just
it looks like they go
perspective paintings.
Yeah, it looks like they go.
But also, I think it's not, because at the end of an episode that I saw recently. The elevator decides to take them to the 30th floor, and Eddie goes, "There is no 30th floor." Whoa! And that's how it ends. Like they leave it on. Like they don't deal with like what.
Boy, you know, this show was so consistently well crafted up to this point. I can't believe
really
they would do
was.
such a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, come on.
Sorry. So I'm all over. So I'm thinking. I think there's a premise of Tracy is he's sort of the linchpin here. I'm thinking he's like an immortal gorilla who has mastered ghost technology. So like what he's able to do is he takes bones and spirits and jams them together and jams them into devices and makes things. So they had a jalopy of a car, and he went and shoved a ghost in the engine, making it the ghost buggy, and he maintains it. He builds and maintains all of their technology.
Did Tracy create Primeval?
Maybe.
Were you going there?
Possibly,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I was thinking that was possible. The thing, looking at Primeval seems to be from the future, and like because they have all that techno ghost stuff. His entire motive is to get rid of humanity so ghosts can have the earth and he can rule over all of them.
Yeah. For the spirits and beings that can't cross over to heaven or hell or the afterlife that are stuck on our plane of existence, he wants to clear out our plane of existence for all of them to thrive.
Basically,
and they would honor him by making him leader.
Time. Yeah. No problem. Like the ghost buggy has I think they call it time turbo. Activate the time turbo, and it causes problems. Like they're like, let's not use the time turbo, and then they're like, but Futura's in trouble. If Futura's in trouble, that means her time jumping car is in trouble. That the Ghostbusters car, am in love with.
Really?
That's a thing.
Oh,
that's a thing.
The car's in love. Well, let's back up to Tracy shoving ghosts and technology together.
Okay.
Were you building off of that to kind of lay down a foundation for a plot, or
potentially?
Okay.
I didn't get anywhere near a plot. I was just building premise. I was building world to see if a plot came out of it.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
And like they have a thing like because there are robot ghosts. It got me thinking. So in the future, also there are people 100 years in the future, but they all have purple skin. That's weird. Don't know what to do with that. But they also have very advanced technology. Like there's a point they're flying through space and they fight some space villain, I think named Simon. I don't know how that's made into a pun. I'm sure it is. But he has an assistant that is a ghost that they shrink down to put in the computers to cause problems. They shrink themselves down. They have a whole Tron episode, basically.
Nice.
But that got me thinking, so in this future, robots can be ghosts. So if you do a thing where AI advances to the point that there are ghosts in the machines, AI is advanced to the point of being alive. And so in this future, ghosts and robots and robot ghosts, like they're all kind of fuse together. They're all sort of the same thing. I wasn't sure where I was going with that, but that's a thing. But basically this fusion of technology and souls, essentially ghosts. I mean, they call everything in the show that's weird a ghost, whether it's a monster or
What is completely wild about this, and it dawns on me, the original story written by Dan Aykroyd for Ghostbusters, that is not what we got. He had imagined that the Ghostbusters was a franchise extermination business that was from the future that traveled through time and space and other dimensions, taking on ghosts. So the fact that the cartoon ended up being that is really wild.
Yeah,
that is so crazy. So
sorry, these characters. So Jake Kong has this innate ability. His nose twitches when ghosts are near.
Yeah.
So he can detect ghosts. Never mind the ghost car and things should make his nose constantly twitch.
My nose is always itching.
Also, because of that opening thing, he also has this connection to what do you what do you call he's a wizard. What do you call someone who is
Like an oracle?
no when they're absent-minded. He's an absent-minded wizard.
You not being
I
able to
understand.
figure that out, okay.
The irony is not lost.
So he has a connection to an absent-minded wizard.
Yeah, because of what happens in the first one. One of King Arthur's court's wizards has given Jake this thing and says, on the full moon, you can contact me and I'll help you. And there are many episodes where it's like, thank goodness that there's the full moon. And he contacts the wizard who, like, every time Jake asks for strength, like super strength to help them with the scenario, and he gives them some other superpower. Like one, he gives them super speed. One, he turns them invisible. I don't want to use any of that. I just want the audience. I just want our listeners to know.
To hear this insanity. My God. Okay. Okay. Where are we, Jim? Like, we're 45 minutes of this episode.
I know.
And we've just
this is a lot like when I described Deadlands. I took like an hour to lay out the full premise.
No, I'm bearing with you because this is all, I feel like, at least pertinent in some way or another to say, like, this is what exists in the canon of this series.
Their legacy also goes back. Their grandfather, their great grandfather also
were ghost hunters.
Fought ghosts. Yes.
Wow. Okay, so a cowboy western episode. Wait a minute. Was this all a trick to get a western episode in?
No, I did not mean to do that.
Okay. Okay. So where do we start? Does this take place in the modern day? Are we in the not too distant future so we can have Jetsons cars flying around? Like, are we in a Blade Runner type future where this starts?
I think it takes place now.
Okay. So we're in the modern era. Let's. Is there a way to? Do you want to utilize time travel? And if so, okay, I'm going to say it. I think we can utilize time travel, but only for the villains. I'd like to take that off the plate for our heroes. We need to handicap these guys. They have literally everything. You just told me a wizard gives someone superpowers. What can't they do?
He gives them the wrong superpowers.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's modern day, and they have been thriving as a family-owned business of busting ghosts for a few decades now.
My first notion is just the bones of the cartoon plot opening. I think might be a decent plot.
Okay.
The dads get kidnapped. The kids have to rescue them.
Okay. I'm drawn to the notion that Kong is responsible for our villain. Or all of the villains. Tracy, yeah, sorry. It's
okay.
Because the gorilla, you would think, would be named Kong.
Yeah, because of King Kong or Donkey Kong.
Because of gorillas.
Yeah.
But it's not.
No?
Oh, my
goodness.
I'm drawn to the notion that Tracy is responsible for the villains, if not just Primeval, all the villains. Because all these villains have tech mixed with ghosts, right? And if that's what Tracy has been utilizing to create the technology, whether that's slipping back and forth through time or getting information from the future that he used in the past, trying to create some sort of Mobius strip of time that they have to deal with in here. And you were suggesting that the dads get kidnapped.
Oh, Mobius strip is fun.
That the kids, basically, like, there is no, this is all, like, all over itself. And it's like, where's this begin?
I thought you meant, like, literally, like, it goes so far that it becomes the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, somehow twisting it around. I'm trying to take that convolution and map it out swiftly and easily now is going to be difficult. But if Tracy is responsible for all the villains, and you had offered up this kidnapping notion, having a successful ghost hunting business that a villain from the future comes back and kidnaps the dads, like the proprietors of this estate, and vanish them, and now our main characters have to rescue their dads. There you go. I mean, it's the premise of the first cartoon. Is that enough of a premise to launch us into this world? I would like to offer up an idea of setting this back, like not in 2024, but go back to like the 90s, or like take us back a little bit so that the dads being kidnapped are not two 70-year-old men, but actually some in their prime, So then you have a 19, 20-year-old something Eddie and Jake the third who have to then, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
We don't have to stick so hard to like the every day that passes in our real world past in the Ghostbusters world. We don't have to do that. We can even. I have a weird relationship with. I like movies that take place in certain periods, but I have a weird thing about making those movies.
Okay.
If it's not a part of the demand, I don't see a reason to do it. Like, I don't know what the 90s, aside from trying to stick with that line of 70s, 80s, 90s, aside from trying to stick with that, I don't see a reason to put it in the 90s.
Okay. No fine. No problem. No fine.
No fine. No fine problem.
Yeah. We need to lay out a plot here, and I'm just trying to like get us somewhere.
Sure.
If kidnapping the dads is one way to go, I'm okay with that. I like the notion of maybe if a ghost from the future kidnaps them away, and Futura shows up and says, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." Creating some sort of element of this isn't just rescuing the future or the present. This is the goal here is no longer to raise the Earth so that the ghosts can live. They want to do that through all of time and space, so they need to erase everything. Like, this is a risk of erasing.
That's Primeval's goal.
Okay. Okay, good. Then.
That's why he keeps attacking
the past.
The present.
Or the present. Or his
which
past.
Is his past.
So
so one thing that's not clear, or I lost track of it,
I find that hard to believe.
Primeval's headquarters is called Haunt Quarters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a place in the modern day or if it's in another parallel dimension.
Like outside
because
of time.
Ghosts get zapped, and they do say when we zap the ghosts, they get zapped to like an afterlife ethereal plane for a little while.
They can always escape.
And then they come back, to generally Haunt Quarters, where Primeval gives them a Skeletor dressing down and then sends them out for some new kooky plan.
Okay. Then let's start there. Let's start with Primeval. let's build this from the villains out. If our heroes are just going to be this generation's Ghostbusters, fine.
They don't have to be. Do you have an angle you would prefer to approach on?
No, I don't mind that it's
Okay.
legacy. I mean, Ghostbusters ripping off Ghostbusters, ripping off Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's the transcript look like on this episode? How many times have we said it? But so let's build from the villain out. What is his we know his overall plan is to take over the world. What is his actionable plan here and now in this scenario that's different from anything he's tried before? He's got a new plan. He's got a new idea. This is the one that's going to work. I've been trapped for, quote, a little while, which is part of the canon that the ghosts don't stay trapped forever. He's finally escaped again, and he's got a new idea.
That's another thing. They never zap him away. They say he's too strong for our normal zapping powers. They need to enhance the zapper to get it to the... Or they just trap him in a vault, because that's another thing. The ghosts are usually... They have a lot of powers. Sorry. Okay.
Primeval, at some point, whether it's the prologue of the movie or it happened before the movie began, has been captured, and ghost busting has been relatively smooth ever since that happened. He has finally escaped, and now he's going to launch his new master plan, which is the main threat of this movie. You can take a moment here, because I'm going to throw this to a break so that we can come back strong. Sound good? All right. Thanks for sticking with us, everyone. Here's a few messages from 6.5 Media. Okay, here we are. We are back. Do you want to spout off any more details, or you?
No, I don't think I have any more details. I think I have the
hint.
slightest.
Okay.
a skeletal structure. The bones of a plot.
Ooh, no, you already used that pun.
Oh, okay.
What? Come on. Respect the quality of the show. They would never.
The gravest of plots.
Ooh. I have a couple notions as well, but I'm going to default to you on a lot of this.
So
go ahead.
I don't want Tracy to be responsible because that kind of puts him in a bad guy place of like, what did you do?
Yeah.
I'm a gorilla. Okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. He says that more than anything else in the cartoon. But so I'm thinking, what about something like the idea of Primeval is this ghost from the future who is attacking the past, our present, to get rid of the Ghostbusters because their legacy of banishing ghosts has made the future less what he wants it to be.
Yeah.
So, something like that.
A great idea. Good.
But but Primeval's inception, he becomes a ghost. It's another thing. They really don't talk much about people becoming ghosts. Ghosts are just this other thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, what if Primeval was a person who found out about the Ghostbusters and about Tracy and all this stuff and was like, I want in on that.
Yeah.
Almost like an Incredibles
syndrome.
Syndrome type thing.
I like this.
And something happens that kills this guy that eventually becomes Primeval. Maybe, but because I want to mess with the time because it is such a big part of the cartoon.
I would like to as well. I have
Okay.
a proposition.
But my notion is somehow they have to go like all the way to like the beginning of time kind of thing.
Okay,
It doesn't have to be the true beginning of time or whatever. Because there's one thing I want to incorporate from the live action show.
Oh, really?
Yes. But I want something to happen way back when Tracy is sort of chosen / volunteers, like they meet monkey people or something.
Okay, we're going.
And he volunteers.
2001. He was blessed with immortality or something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he's been around forever, combating ghosts and learning stuff. And,
okay.
Things like that.
Yeah, I like this notion. I want to. Can I throw something?
The one thing I want to incorporate, I'm not sure yet where to put it.
Yeah.
Zero, their boss.
Yes.
Their client.
Okay.
And I'm not sure yet where to put that.
Okay, so at the end of time, is also the beginning of time. That's where Zero exists, and
perfect.
Zero basically monitors in a TVA kind of way, but more mystical because this is a lot more ghostly, paranormal stuff.
Touching on another cartoon I like.
Well, I was mentioning that was Loki.
That's Loki, but it reminds me of not Time Cops. Captain Todd Russell, and they're time cops, but they're not called time cops.
Street Sharks.
Street Sharks, yeah.
Okay. Primeval exists.
Patrol. Sorry, Time Patrol. Just need to finish that tangent reference. Done.
Okay, so Primeval has been in the future working his way to the past to mess with them in the cartoon series, right? Here's my idea. He keeps going further back, sort of Skynet style.
Yes.
It didn't work here, so I'm going to go back a little bit further. I'm going to go back a little bit further. I'm going to go back a little bit
because
further.
Because the Ghostbusters are always there, every
Right.
generation.
They are because of him. Every time he goes back,
nice.
It ripples forward. Every time he goes back, it ripples forward. So
Okay.
when he appears in the 80s, the reason the Ghostbusters exists is because he was already in the 70s. And the reasons that the Ghostbusters exist in the 70s is that he was back. So
Sure.
like every time he faces off of someone, whether he knows it or not, it is the echo forward of what he does next.
Okay.
Right? So he, unbeknownst to him, he creates the Ghostbusters going backwards.
Sure.
And Tracy has existed since the beginning of time going forward.
Yeah.
So just time streams working different directions here, and we got Zero at the end of time, who is basically giving them somehow contacting them through hooky dooky space.
Is Zero primeval, or is Zero Tracy?
That's Zero as Tracy's an interest, but Zero as either of them is an interesting. Heck, it could be both of them somehow.
Sure. Yeah.
That like the ghost of primeval is once Tracy dies or something like that. I said Mobius strip earlier,
You
so
did, yeah.
but yeah, so essentially the part of the mystery is that's unfolds is primeval finally reaching a point of like, why does this keep happening? And it finally becomes clear to him that he has created these guys through time and space. That he is, and now his plan has shifted to, I need to stop this. I need to unwrite time somehow.
Okay.
Unwrite time, yeah, that's what I'm going for. So I don't know. Is that something right there?
Maybe.
This is super complicated, but I think with this approach, like if it's very clear. Primeval's going this direction. Tracy's going this direction, and these characters are the result of their endless.
So but they are our protagonists. So how do we tell this story from essentially their perspective? Like what's their arc here, right?
Yeah.
Like I get what you've done, but you've told the story from the villain's perspective, the antagonist perspective, and this is something. Our human characters, Spencer and Kong, need to kind of discover and learn.
Well, I want good. You've asked the question. Brain's reeling here. Here's my suggestion back to you. It's actually using a trope you don't like and addressing it within the story.
Oh, goody.
Yes. If Eddie or Jake believe in the idea of the one, the chosen one, like that they believe it's destiny, that they have been chosen to be this legacy, only to be disillusioned by that, to be like, no, this is an accident. I'm not actually the one. Our family isn't the Skywalkers. We are not the lineage destined to do this. It was fulfilled by happenstance. And then, so it's a I don't know. That's something.
Sure. Okay.
Like we've been chosen for this, Eddie. This is our destiny to protect time and space and the world from these ghost monsters. No, dude, he did like.
I see what you're doing. I don't mind that maybe as a second act turn where our characters have lost all hope.
Yeah.
Right. They've lost belief in their own agency. That. But what if the climate? What we learn at the very beginning, what it is when they get all the way. Basically, when we get to see Tracy as the chosen gorilla, Jake and Eddie essentially pledge themselves. Our modern Jake and Eddie are the ones that they pledge their legacy. They pledge their life. They pledge their entire family lineages to this. So basically this whole thing is friendship. Friendship is magic.
Friendship is magic.
So in other words, they did choose. They are chosen ones in that, because Tracy is the chosen one here, and Tracy chooses them as friends, and they in turn reciprocate. They're like, yeah, we want to do this. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
and so it's almost a self-fulfilling kind of chosen one prophecy.
I just figured out the energy this should have.
Okay.
Bill and Ted.
Sure, yeah. That's not bad.
That is I think that's the energy this should have, particularly the most, like the newest Bill and Ted, where it's.
Haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay. But it's friendship is magic is what it comes down to, is like, it's very sweet. Okay. It's fun and it's funny and it's stupid and it's exciting and it's got all the, zipping around through time, but ultimately the Bill and Ted movies are sweet movies because they are two sweet guys.
Sure.
I'm not saying we completely replicate that energy, but I think this is sort of push it more towards that. Is sort of what I'm suggesting.
Absolutely. And, okay, and to that end, so I think what needs to happen then at a certain point is one of the ways Primeval gets the upper hand is he abducts, he kidnaps, he gets Tracy. And so it seems like all hope is lost.
Yeah.
And Jake is like, no, Tracy was the one. He knew how all of this works. We just hold the zapper. That's all we do.
He builds them. He knows where the ghosts go. We are we are the trigger men here.
Yeah.
So then it becomes a rescue mission.
Yeah, a bit. So then they have to choose to go back in time or forward or we're sideways to do this. Like we have to do this. He's the chosen one. We need to get the chosen one to where he needs to go.
Could there be an option within there, and we can set
Well,
this up
because it's jumping through time. That notion of we need to get him where he needs to go.
Yeah,
That's them basically fulfilling it. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
In that way, they are.
No, it's sort of folding in on itself, but I think
Yeah.
appropriately so. In the first act, because we're dealing with time travel, to lay out our rules, we can kind of go Doctor Who rules where you can't interact with your, like you have to avoid, you can't Back to the Future to this where you interact with yourself and sort of affect your own timeline. Essentially, what I'm saying is if he gets kidnapped here, let's just go back 20 minutes and stop him from being kidnapped. Like that conversation can be happen because we're dealing with jumping through time here.
Sure.
And then it can just be a matter of Kong existing eternally, moving forward through time. You can't displace that. He needs to exist on his timeline forever. And if you disrupt that anywhere on the timeline, you are risking erasing all of time and fulfilling the Primeval's plan here. Tracy must exist chronologically, linear. So they can't just go back 20 minutes and stop him. They need to rescue him on his own linear timeline. I know that's a little funky, but
I understand what you're saying. I would almost rather have a scene where they try to do that.
Yeah.
And just the metaphysics of the world prevent them. Like they're in there.
Yes.
We know what's happening, and they try to run through a door, and they like turn invisible or ethereal. They become ghosts themselves, and they're like, "Oh no!"
Yes.
And so they realize they can't just do the easy time loop fix.
Yeah, I would love to draw a little bit from sort of the rules Stephen King put in place for his 11/22/63 JFK series, where the closer the main character that gets to actually like changing time, it's literally his hearing, his vision. He can't even like push physically through the space in front of him because time is literally pushing back.
Sure.
So
it could be something like that.
Yeah, having Jake and Eddie risk being turned into ghosts because they're like that close to affecting the timeline directly.
But I'd even want to include a thing where like they shout at Tracy, don't do that. And Tracy looks at them. He hears them, he sees them, and he says, and like as a gorilla, he's like, no, this must happen.
Forward.
Something like that. Yeah.
Could we advance Tracy to the point of being like Beast from X-Men? Can we just make him like actually full on speaking intellectual scientist in a coat?
Like Frasier?
Yes.
He talks like Frasier.
Kelsey Grammer is our Tracy. Or do you like the idea?
It'd probably be easier. Yeah. I don't mind finding. I don't want it to be he pulls out props and does charades the whole time. No. But I don't necessarily want to do. Oh my God, I'm forgetting all the names and words. Michael Crichton's Jungle Book.
Congo,
yes.
I was thinking
where the ape has the sign. Like I want somewhere in between. Like I don't mind if he has like he's made a device that speaks for him.
Yeah,
and that's how we get a voice.
I just want Andy Serkis to play the part.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in.
So giving him some Caesar power is like, listen, Jake. No, like if it's as simple as that sort of Tarzan speak, that's fine. But
yeah,
but yeah, having him see them trying to rescue him and being like, no, you can't do this, as they're trying to like push through the ghost energy that's like yanking them back into the timeline. I think that's good. And what's interesting is that Primeval's able to affect time because he's already dead. Where's he gonna get pulled to? Home.
Yeah.
I ran out of gas. I'm just gonna go affect the timeline. Whoop. Okay, so we're kind of like laying down some stuff here.
So I like that, coming up with a gimmick to prevent easy time loops.
Yeah, there you go. As long as we establish our rules of time travel. We've discussed this before on Happy Death Day. We had a similar time travel conversation episodes back. I can't remember, but it's a matter of if you lay your rules down and follow them, you can do whatever you want. Just follow your own rules. That's why Back to the Future works. And why Looper works. Actually,
if anything, we could actually even explain, like they could say, why don't we do this? And we could use that almost like a don't cross the streams kind of thing. Whatchamacallit,
like the proton packs. Yeah,
Chekhov's
Chekhov's
Chekhov's time loop.
Okay.
Basically, they say, "Why don't we do this?" And their dads and or Tracy or someone explains to them specifically to just make it sound easy. If you do that, you will create a paradox, and the way paradoxes solve themselves is one of the two realities is literally killed, and everyone in it is turned to ghosts, and you will become these guys.
And maybe that's why all these ghosts exist for Primeval to like
Kind
lord
of, yeah.
over, is that it's paradoxical. Ooh, that's dark.
So he's
cool.
making the Ghostbusters, but he's also making all of these weird ghosts.
Ghosts that can't go to another realm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's dark and cool. Like that is where are all these. Eventually we're gonna have to figure out where all these ghosts are coming from. Surprise! It's right here. Every time a timeline is destroyed because of a paradox. Oopsie, you got more ghosts.
Yeah, because there isn't a multiverse.
Yeah, it's what the multiverse corrects itself as soon as that's great. That's a good. Ouch.
Nice.
That's a good, so the rescuing Tracy becomes like the latter half of the film, right?
Yeah.
Is Tracy in the future? Like, let's kind of hash that out.
I think ultimately going all the way back to like revealing who and what Tracy is. He's a forward-moving Merlin, which is weird to say because Merlin moved backward. In
Sure.
Unless we want to make Tracy move back, like he's experiencing time backwards.
Well,
that's probably getting too complicated.
I do like the notion that as like if we go back to prehistory to Neanderthals, like ape, the pre-evolution of man, that if Tracy was chosen then and evolved with humanity and existed through time. There's some fun sci-fi, superhero, and fantasy stuff that have delved into this, the immortal man and whatnot.
A really fun montage of watching this gorilla in each step of mankind, walking amongst them with different dress
and constantly seeking out the lineage, the ancestors of Tracy and Spencer.
Spencer and Kong. You'll get it.
God damn it. I'm seeking out Spencer and Kong. Like seeking them out.
Just say Jake and Eddie.
Jake and Eddie. To seek out Jake and Eddie's ancestors because they will eventually have to face Primeval as he works his way back.
Mm-hmm.
And then always knowing once that lineage is found, and if Kong, damn it, if Tracy connects with them and then they finish the job and then we're not Ghostbusters anymore, and then some certain amount of time happens and then he has to re-find their lineage, or does he just find the original ones attached to himself from the beginning and he has been their gorilla sidekick? That's very rude, sorry. Their gorilla sidekick for 200 years. 300, like however long he's needed to Ghostbust with them. Because there's two
combinations.
ways to go.
I mean, we are suggesting it's every 10, 20 years, every generation, but maybe the ghost thing only needs to happen once every few centuries.
Yeah, honestly, I think it'd be interesting if it's happening slowly, more frequently.
More often.
Yeah. If it was like Eddie and Jake were found in the Dark Ages or the Renaissance, like or even further back than that, and then they had some sort of suggestion of a big grand adventure that ends, and Tracy goes off into solitude again.
It also then lends credence to them needing to go to the future being even more important, 100 years in the future, because Primeval it's all happening
sooner
more and
more. Yeah. So taking Tracy to the focal point of all of this, however far into the future it is, wherever. I know Primeval is 100 years in the future when the cartoon starts, but it could be an indeterminate amount of time even further into the future.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, I like 100 years because especially with this going back to monkey times, is much longer than 100.
Sure.
So having it speed up to the point that from the modern day, 100 years into the future is when this big problem is.
Mm-hmm.
But then we can play around with that if it were to be needed in the script, we can suggest that 100 years, based on the actions of our Ghostbusters, is getting pushed a la Terminator.
Oh yeah, the Skynet's the
Skynet,
singularity.
yeah.
Like sure. The date keeps changing.
Yeah.
Much to Primeval's frustration.
Yeah.
I think Primeval should still utilize other monsters and ghosts and freaks within this.
Sure, yeah.
It certainly comes down to a final showdown between him and our main character, Eddie and Jake the third.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think seeing some of the characters, having Dr. Celsius,
Dr. Centigrade from the original.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another really interesting thing. Ghost powers are all of your normal, like, scary kind of things. But then the thing they rely on a lot is freezing. And I just think that's interesting, knowing the direction that the Ivan Reitman Ghostbusters are going. Right.
Whoa, they've been ripping off the Ghostbusters since the beginning. We're on to you, Dan Aykroyd. We got your number, dude. An alien told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, if Primeval, if we're not going to do like a syndrome thing where like we're still going to do that. He was a person at some point, like in the now, and he's all like, I want in on this action, and they're like, no, and he's like, I'm going to do it, and he jumps in the bone crusher machine, or he jumps in the ray of the I don't know, because it's not supposed to work on living things.
I don't want it to be a character I don't want it to be a syndrome type. Where it was the Eddie and Jakes that we know, I don't want him to have known them.
Okay.
Because that's Syndrome, and it's also the bad guy from Meet the Robinsons.
I mean, it's a bunch. You can find that theme.
Certainly. I'm interested in possibly making it go further back. That Tracy crossed paths. Maybe there was no.
Because my other suggestion is that's the thing. If Primeval wasn't a person and wasn't a person somehow related to this plot we've created, Primeval can just be a primordial being. He is evil. He is the prime evil.
Okay.
He comes from all the way back to the origin of Tracy. When Tracy decided to fight it, it's because Tracy was fighting this shadow being in the cave. And that shadow being, that original evil, that original fear, is primeval. And at that time, he was just a few bones and shadows.
Okay.
And it's over the millennia that he has added technology to himself, the same way Tracy has managed to figure out how to turn spirits and shadows and bones into technology.
I like that if their origin is at the same place.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this. I love the idea that their origin is the same place, or that whatever Primeval was,
like, essentially
before.
Take out the space element, but essentially Primeval is the monolith.
Yeah.
And Tracy is the monkey that like
the ape that throws the bone. Yeah. That figures out a weapon.
What was it? There was it was that where Tracy's the ape that touches the monolith, and in touching it
is gifted.
Yeah.
And then right there fights. I like the idea that he fought the Shadow and Bone. That is, I know that's the name of a show. It's Witches, right?
Yeah.
But that Primeval existed then, for whether it's an ancient evil that existed before this point. So we're going way beginning of humanity, beginning of sentient life.
If Tracy's are chosen, it's what I'm suggesting is like Tracy is there at the advent
of both
of this entire notion of fear.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. And he defeats Primeval there. And then Primeval doesn't return to his sentient form or its sentient form until the Primeval we meet in the cartoon, and then starts working his way backwards. Otherwise, we lose. We don't have to. I'm saying it's fine.
Oh, okay.
I'm fine.
I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But I'm okay if you think we should lose the whole Primeval's working backwards while Tracy's working forwards. But I kind of like that notion. And so the way to make that work is Primeval's defeated by Tracy in the beginning of time, and then isn't reborn again until millennia later, and then starts working his way backwards. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that's the right way to go. That's just
My suggestion is that being that the monstrosity that
is
our proto Tracy chooses to fight.
Mhm.
That is the original primeval.
Yes.
And he is like body and spirit are separated, and maybe that's also where Zero first, like we can have
all
him.
three of them exist. Yeah.
Morgan Freeman can play him and pop up and be like, "Congratulations, Tracy, you have managed to do this," and he exposits what's happening.
Mhm.
Primeval's spirit has been flung to the opposite side of time, and that's another reason that he is inexorably been, if that's the right word, been working his way backward in time because he is trying to get to his body.
Yeah. Okay. And then for our finale, we can have to fight him in both places, the beginning of time and the end of time.
Like Ice Pirates. No, not like Ice Pirates.
What? What's Ice Pirates?
In the movie Ice Pirates,
Okay.
they enter this weird temporal rift where time is moving much faster, and during this swashbuckling space fight, the characters get old, have a baby. That baby grows up and is fighting all during this fight and rescues them.
Wow, this sounds like a really good movie.
And then as they leave the temporal rift,
is that a really good
they
movie?
go back to their age, and all of that disappears.
Is it a really good movie?
I remember it as a really good movie.
Then it's got to be.
Anyway, it's not.
Having Eddie
Anyway,
and
yeah.
Jake have to fight both places at the same time. That if we have Eddie and Jake working together the whole movie, and then for the finale have to separate, one goes to the beginning of time, one goes to the end of time, and they have to defeat Primeval in both spots at the same time, kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe that's
I see what you're saying.
Just to give our climactic battle as much stakes as possible.
Trying to stick with like a Mobius strip kind of thing. What if the end of time and the beginning of time are doing like going back to the whole you can't affect a time loop or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
They have to, right? That's our Chekhov's time loop.
Oh, what if? Okay,
no, go ahead.
No. What if we find out that Zero is in fact Eddie or Jake? To bring the one sin, like the one, like I am the one. No, you're not the one. You're Zero. Like if that's the fulfillment.
I don't want it to be Eddie or Jake.
Okay.
If it's Tracy, like it's Tracy at the end of time. Zero is literally Tracy at the end of time crossing over back to the beginning of time
to start his path over again.
Yes.
So, okay. Then that yes.
Tracy is Roland. And Jake and Eddie are.
Oh my God!
Oh God!
Jake and Eddie
are Jake.
Oh no!
Oh no! I was gonna say that they're
Susanna.
No, his Alan and Cuthbert, but no,
Jake
they're Jake and Eddie.
They're Jake and Eddie. Dear God, Jim, what have we done?
We turned Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is the Dark Tower.
The Dark Tower. Hell yes.
I don't know if I feel good about myself.
Oh my God. No. Okay. So if the final battle with Primeval is to both defeat him and start it all over again, like is that feel like good? Does that feel good? Like they win, but it's doomed and destined to always climb the tower. We didn't intentionally go to the Dark Tower, but that's what we're asking here.
It depends on how you frame it. I think it can be framed in a way that they have succeeded, and as long as this path is always walked, Tracy has chosen to always walk this path,
right?
Literally forever,
mm-hmm.
and sort of in that climax where they defeat Primeval from actually reversing time and life,
mm-hmm.
Right, they could enter that moment of Alpha and Omega. To get a little religious about it,
mm-hmm.
they enter sort of that moment where the ending becomes the beginning, and Tracy becomes the golden gorilla, and that is Zero, and Zero explains to them what's happening here, and that he has made this decision, and every time he makes the same decision, and he will always make the decision to fight the unknown, the great fear, the great undoing.
Mm-hmm.
You, Jake and Eddie, have been there with me, but this is your chance. If you don't want to do this, just say the word, and you don't have to. You can go have whatever lives you want, and they choose. They choose to like
fulfill their destinies. Yeah.
No, Tracy, we're with you all the way.
I hope Eddie sounds like that. Here's a thought as well. Giving them that to say like, not only you but your entire lineage has existed with this curse that you willingly take on. That
sure.
you've been heroes.
Oh, that actually be great. That touches onto why we can say all Kongs have had this ability to detect ghosts.
It's why his
and
nose.
It's because and they call it the curse.
Mm-hmm.
It's our curse.
However, they can choose to not have that all the pain and suffering that came with this in the stories we only get glimpses at over the course, not the goofy ass stuff we get from the cartoon and the show, but like the actual. We'll add some gravity to this.
I mean, like yes, that bit of gravity is literally their lives and their parents' lives and their and through all of time, their lives are surrounded by grim, dark, gloomy things, by the dead and skeletons and hauntings, and like that sounds fun to people who don't have to live it.
But they've lived it, and if one believes in the one idea, like this is our destiny, I love it, and the other one is like, I can't believe I'm exhausted by this, I don't want to keep doing it, and then both of them coming around like, no, we are the ones, like, but maybe you're right and we shouldn't do it, basically, so they come to common ground. What I'd like to suggest though is when they complete the Mobius strip and defeat Primeval and thus start it all over again, there are no new primeval threats that he as a threat or it as a threat will know exists finitely. Primeval as a threat exists as from beginning to now. This is his end and his beginning again. When he's defeated here, his loop is complete and it will always be. There will be other ghosts, but Primeval is destroyed here. So then they can choose to keep fighting the ghosts.
The word contained.
Contained. Okay, sure. Yeah,
He's been contained to this timeline.
To
this,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I just because I see what you're saying, but he's not destroyed.
Right.
He will always exist. Unfortunately forever because he is the essence of fear.
Right. But they do complete his loop. Like he will not. There will be no more threats of him on the timeline.
I mean, that's real bad franchise building, but I do like this.
That's why I'm saying that he's done. But there are plenty of other ghosts and ghouls and goblins out there that exist beyond him.
Sure.
We will see we will see some of them in this movie. Mm-hmm. Having Battarat be the one who takes up the mantle in this.
Turn him into a Starscream.
Yeah. Starscream. But then I think there is closure and we defeated the evil. We defeated the bad guy. And now it's, do we carry on our mission? Or we're allowed to also end our journey. You see what I'm saying? Like if Tracy says this could be the end for you, I'm giving you this is the one spot or in time and space and all of existence where you can choose to walk away.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So then we get to defeat, and they also get to make the choice, and of course they're going to say yes.
Yeah, they're heroes.
Yeah, they're the good guys.
Yeah.
Woo! Did this just happen, Jim?
Of course it did, because we are destined to do this.
Certainly, we're missing a whole bunch of how do we get from A to B, but and I'm not trying to wrap the episode up here. I'm happy to keep talking about this, but I think we do have the sketch of what is coming to this much of a decisive ending to a story is not something we do very often.
That's true.
We have certainly crafted endings and have written ourselves to it, but we've spent a lot of time of like making this work, and that's pretty exciting.
I would just like to point out that this it's not quite a Mobius strip. There's a bit of a palindrome in here, and that is exactly who demanded this. Lolo from Olo Studios.
Well done. It's probably deliberate, right? Maybe?
I don't know. No, it's they did not intend for us to do a palindrome.
Oh, okay.
Nor did we intend to do a palindrome because of their name.
Yeah, Lolo.
I think, yes, they chose their studio name because of the name they chose. They made a palindrome.
Yeah.
I'm saying we answered their demand with a story palindrome.
Futura and Jessica. Like, there's other characters to add into this mix here.
Yeah.
Is there anything? Again, you have more information than I have. Is there anything we're missing? Is there some tropes or some cliches of the show, some recurring themes of the show that we should, like I said, like Dr. Centigrade should be in here somewhere. Like they should face off again.
There's several cold-oriented villains. So yeah, Dr. Centigrade from the original 75 live-action Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also some cold power. Like Big Evil actually has the power to freeze things. He can zap them frozen.
How strange.
I think Primeval actually has the ability to freeze things frozen as well.
It's
just a power that the big bads have.
This sounds like an animation.
The villain because we watched the last episode of the cartoon.
He also
don't even know who he was. I guess he was recurring. He looked a little more like Skeletor than Primeval did.
Mm-hmm.
He had his whole thing was cold. It was cold oriented. It was freeze oriented.
Did we watch the last episode of the cartoon?
We did.
I don't remember. I remember watching
it. Was
it.
Eddie finds a different blue wizard who lived in the painting of
that's right. He gets
haunt quarters and asked for powers and was turned into a superhero that they could not identify.
Eddie bungles an attempt to dematerialize Fibface and Apparitia.
Yeah.
Which forces Jake to step in and save him. When Count Freeze sets a trap at Castle Blackstone, Eddie, none the wiser.
The episode, I'm just remembering, was called The Way You Are.
That's right. Well remembered. You love this show.
I really do.
Oh, my God. There's a comic book for this series, by the way.
I believe it.
But, like, having Jessica or an equivalent of Jessica, I guess she would be older with Eddie and Jake Jr. anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Stephen King named them Eddie and Jake because of...
I do.
We'll have to tweet Eddie.
Because I'm pretty sure 75 was before Drawing of the Three.
Oh, my God. Mr. King,
you
have some...
I think it was before Gunslinger, where Jake was first introduced.
Well, I'll tweet at him. We'll see what happens.
And Roland Deschain, I'm sure, is an anagram in some way of Tracy.
Tracy.
It has to be, right?
It has to be, right? No, it's an anagram for Primeval.
Oh.
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Okay, so but yeah, having an equivalent of like Jessica, which would probably be like more of like a stepmom character at this point, but having some sort of other characters added into the mix. Mm-hmm. Is this just Eddie and Jake's adventure to have, or are we going to introduce a couple of other Ghostbusters with them, like Futura, or just other heroes into this mix?
I'm actually in the cartoon, Futura and is a Ghostbuster from 100 years in the future.
Got it. That's
so
right. Yeah.
In our reimagining, theoretically, she would be a descendant of theirs.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make?
Yeah.
Now, granted,
that's
also in the cartoon, Tracy doesn't exist in that future.
Oh.
So we're deviating from the source material in a big way here.
Unless, I mean, is Tracy killed off, or there's no more Tracy? Oh, the gorilla doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in isolation. He's in a hyperbolic time chamber.
Like Primeval?
Like Primeval, yeah. He gets locked in a safe for 100 years with a stupid rat. Flying rat.
Tracy is Primeval.
Okay, essentially, is there anything that we should add to this conversation?
A talking bat that looks like a pig.
Primeval.
A talking TV, a talking phone.
Like the tech and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I'm joking. I'm more joking. No, I don't know. Like I feel like that's.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure we could. I'm sure we could add a bunch of side bits. Like this is a little weird for me. Normally, I'm like, we need to make a huge cast of characters, and the cartoon has a huge cast of characters.
Mm-hmm.
But they would just get dropped here and there. It's fine. I'm fine.
Let's go back into the whole working our way backwards through time scenario. If Eddie and Jake are POV characters, would we have them go back and interact with their ancestors, working our way backwards through time? Because then we'd have an opportunity to see a dozen or so of these monsters come back just in
Yeah.
different time periods.
Yeah, I think so. I think we would see.
You get your Western scene.
Yeah, we'd get the show does go to a ghost town.
Nice.
A ghost town called Gold Mine. And they meet good. There are good ghosts, and they don't bust the good ghosts.
Okay, that's a nice little additional piece of information. Are those ghosts? Okay, so the idea that ghosts exist because of destroyed paradoxes is something I think.
Oh, I didn't think that that's the only reason ghosts exist, but that could be the case.
That's yeah.
Okay.
What do you think? Like, is that?
I don't think that should only be the case. I just like that being our little. That's why we can't just do a time loop.
Right. I wouldn't mind suggesting that all ghosts are the remnants of destroyed timelines. That's when in reality in this world, in this reality that we exist, when a human passes away, they go on to the afterlife,
which is suggested exists.
Right. And ghosts are remnants of destroyed timelines because they can't go on to the afterlife. They have no place there. And so good ghosts are fine, but it'd just be people like getting this information out. There's a lot to explain in this, and that's not impossible to do, even in a fun family film, as long as you're clear with your information and how it's exposited without being.
What I would prefer to say is I would rather say some ghosts, not all.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyhow, working way backwards to interact with characters and ghosts throughout time to get the information of ghosts being created by paradoxes, stopping primeval as in all the spots that he went to. So we get to see pirates, and we get to see we could recreate a scene from the 1975 show that they have to go interact with one of those ghouls or ghosts or what have you.
Oh yeah, I didn't even get into the info I put together about the live action show.
Go on.
I watched enough episodes and they dropped enough weird little things that sort of explain how and why the ghosts operate the way they do. They explain that graveyards or at least this graveyard, it is where it is thinner between the afterlife and this one. So that's why the ghosts and monsters are able to come back at the graveyard. The same graveyard every
time,
episode.
Which is clearly was just for how cheaply Filmation made their show.
Yeah.
It's like, we got 2 set pieces, 3 set pieces, that's it.
Yeah.
So come up with a reason they're always at this graveyard.
And then because they always come back to this graveyard, they're like, well, we need a base of operations. That abandoned old house up there. And it's always the same old house castle thing.
But that's in canon, that it's because it's thinner there?
That's what Dr. Frankenstein says to his creature in the episode Dr. What's His Name.
I love that you know the name of episodes, Jim. I'm seeing you at the Ghostbusters conventions.
It's because
in episode 7, you.
No, that's the thing. The reason I remember them by their names is because YouTube, at least where I was watching them on YouTube, they didn't number them. It's just by their titles.
But he says that. So Dr. Frankenstein says
he mentions like that's why they're in this graveyard, and then like every episode they're like, that house there. That's where we'll reconvene, or that's where we'll start our conquest.
So, like the thinning is where the thinny is where they can come out.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, where it is thinnest between realities.
Yes. So yeah, that's a piece of information we can use in terms of like where the exit points through time travel are the thinnest fibers of time.
Sure.
Should we say those spaces are that thin because that's where primeval broke through?
Maybe.
And then basically.
I'm fine with just suggesting it's. There are many reasons for a place to be thinner. That might just be the one they're currently chasing, like graveyards, battlefields, ghost towns, abandoned places.
Mm-hmm. Basically, wherever the plot needs to get them.
Yeah.
That's where it's thinnest.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Where the plot is thinnest is where you will find our story.
That is the voiceover prologue. I see you sitting there.
The story goes where it's most improbable.
Okay. Yeah.
But like that, yeah, that explains why we can have all this weird bone-based technology, because Tracy built it from his knowledge from the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm. He's some sort of necromancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Technomancer?
Technecromancer.
Technecromancer. Necromancer. Technecromancer. Yeah, technecromancer sounds better. There you go. Okay, I think we can wrap the episode up. You think?
I think so.
I'll start doing the wrap up, and you just run through your head. I think we're gonna. I'm actually surprised because I was like worried when we hit the break, where I'm like, we got nothing. We just listened to Jim explain these shows to us, which was fine. I mean, this is all contextual. Not knocking it, but okay. Lolo from Olo. How did we do? I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Let us know if we missed anything. We went. This is a wild subject matter to begin with, so I'm very curious if this worked for.
When you first suggested it, I thought it was just going to be. It would be like reverse engineering Dan Aykroyd's Ghostbusters from the cartoon to a movie. I thought it was going to be that simple. Then we started watching that show and like. This is not going to be a simple retro engineering.
No, but I think we came up with some good stuff here. But I want to know what Lolo thinks of this, as well as our other listeners. So, what did we get right here? What did you agree with? What did you disagree with? What do you think we missed? Anything? Please throw it at us. There's a lot to this. I mean, Jim, I know, has oodles of information he didn't even draw from yet, but we're gonna call it here. So you can message us directly at studiodemandsit.com. or on Instagram at Studio Demands It. If you're not already, you can subscribe to us on all your podcast apps of choice. And if you feel like giving us a little review, you can do it right in the podcast app, which helps the show get out there into the algorithm, which, honestly, you listening for the first time, this is how you found it, isn't it? You just caught it in the algorithm.
Nice.
Or someone recommended it to you, and you're like, This is the So you can find us on YouTube and TikTok, where we post video content, not including material not heard here on the show. For example, if you would like to see some of our commentary tracks made into bite-sized videos, you can find that at studiodemandsit.com, or just go straight to TikTok, where you can watch them there, including the tie-in to this, not exactly knowing where we were going, knowing it was ghost and busting related. Jim and I did a commentary track of the season. We did Ghost Ship. Remember Ghost Ship, Jim?
Oh, I do. Oh, no, I am glad we did Ghost Ship.
And
I like that movie.
If you'd love to hear that commentary track or get this episode early and an extended version of this episode.
Did I just say I love that movie?
You did.
I like that movie. It's good. I think it's good enough to watch.
If you can find it.
Yeah.
Or if you just want to listen to us talk through it, you can go over to Patreon, and for a couple bucks a month, you can get episodes early, extended double-length episodes, and movie commentary tracks. A massive thank you to 6.5 Media for everything they do. Please check out the other 6.5 shows. That's it for this episode. Jim, any final thoughts over there?
Now I'm just thinking about Ghost Ship.
What's the actor's name that we were like, yeah, that guy?
Ron Eldard.
Okay. Anyway.
No, it's a movie like. If you have it, if it's available, watch it. It's a good haunting movie. Like I think it's a good haunted house kind of movie. It's not worth bending over backwards.
Yes, please don't go out of your way. You can just watch our highlights reel.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for this episode. We'll be back again soon with another one of your demands to challenge to improve the world of cinema. I'm TC.
I'm Jim.
And this is how we end the show.
This is how we do it.
This is what's the other Ghostbusters song? Because we was like Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters.
Go Ghostbuster. I'm gonna get it wrong every time.
Go
Ghostbusters. It's this.
I think you just stumbled on the secret transformation room.
Let's go.
Let's get into unicorns.
Let's go.
Let's go.
You think we're gonna get flagged by playing this?
Yes.
We're gonna get flagged on this?
Absolutely. Donation money that for